Drove deep center field. Torres chasing and is gone, and the party is on in the Hub City. And he launches this one into the trays. Goodbye. And add to it. Straight to the roost. And whoever operates the horn has been standing on it.
Hey, Golden Eagle fans, I'm Southern Miss Stadium announcer Jackson Walker, and you're listening to Nasty Bunch and Beyond.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome in to another episode of Nasty Bunch and Beyond. I'm your host, Dalton Trigg. As you can tell, we have a very special guest today, the president of Southern Miss, Dr. Joe Paul.
How you doing, Dalton?
Dr. Paul, how you doing?
Great.
How's things going for you?
Very, very well. Excited about hosting the regional this weekend. Wrapped up another great school year. Enrollment's moving in the right direction. Everything's great at Southern Miss.
Well, I know you're a big baseball guy. We're going to get into that here in just a little bit. But it's kind of funny to me, you know, everybody knows Dr. Paul, president of Southern Miss. First thing that pops into my mind is upward basketball coach.
Yeah.
In sixth grade at PCS. So it's kind of crazy how things
man.
have
I enjoyed
since
coaching you. You were a big postman.
Yeah.
And my son Daniel Paul was a little point guard, setting a pick and roll for him back in the day.
Yep.
People your age are the only ones that call me coach. You know, I coached baseball for 8 or 10 years as well. So
that was
a lot of fun.
Fun time. And I always tell people basketball is my first love.
Yeah.
But, you know, I ended up going the football route.
Well,
more built for that. But that was some fun times back then.
That's for sure.
So there's a lot of good things happening across all Southern Miss athletics right now, different sports and everything.
Yes.
But not just for you being the president, but just as a fan, how fun has this athletic year been for you?
It's been awesome, you know, to see football get back on the winning side of things and go to a bowl game was tremendously exciting. I am a huge baseball fan, so the tradition of excellence continues there. One of the best seasons in our very storied history. Our women's softball team advanced farther than they have in many years. Men's golf went to NCAA Regional for the first time. Lots of success in track. You know, the women's golf won the Sun Belt last year. So things are going well here for athletics at Southern Miss.
I mentioned, you know, basketball was always my first love. What was your first love growing up? What was your favorite sport?
Always baseball. You said you were built for football. I wasn't built for basketball or football. And so I played baseball from an early age and coached it, even played slow pitch softball into my 30s. So baseball is my favorite sport.
Well, we're going to talk about some NIL stuff now. Just take a little bit because, you know, obviously we're in unprecedented times, the transfer portal, NIL stuff. Obviously there's the To the Top collective. And but what are some other things that Southern Miss is doing to kind of keep up with the times in that regard?
Yeah, it is an unprecedented time. It's a very challenging time. The transfer portal is actually as big a challenge as the concept of NIL. And really what we're into now is more what we call revenue sharing. And so, you know, out of the house settlement with the NCAA, institutions can now share up to 20% of their athletics revenue with their players. Now, with our budget situation, anybody else in the Sun Belt Conference or anybody outside of the Power Four, you're not actually going to be able to reach that $20 million cap or anywhere close to it. But we've got to stay competitive within our group. And so what is different than before that settlement is that now you can raise money as donations to your athletics foundation that in turn can be shared with student athletes. And so that's where we are, is we're in a constant fundraising mode within the Eagle Club, within the Athletics Foundation, for the purpose of supporting athletes in sports as we can to stay competitive in our league. And certainly on the baseball front, that means competitive nationally as well.
And just rolling on into that, historically, I've always thought of us as a football school, but given the tradition of excellence, as you mentioned, in baseball and how things have gone the last really decade plus, I mean, do you think the gap's kind of closing there a little bit?
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt that what we're known for most on the national front now is probably baseball. But the thing to remember, Dalton, is if you're going to be competing in Division I athletics to highest level, you have to be a football school. We have to have uncommon success in football because that generates the most revenue, the most interest, a larger fan base. But for us, baseball is exceptional. It's a unique culture. We've got a unique following. But it can't drive the whole department. That's going to be, if you think of our athletic department as a train, football is always going to be the engine.
And that's not just with Southern Miss. That's just America in general.
That's every. With very few exceptions, where schools have been so successful in basketball over a very long period of time. But absolutely, football is the engine.
Well, baseball team doing great as always. Like you said, another historic season, 44-15 heading into this weekend. Another Hattiesburg Regional.
Yeah.
Not only winning the Sun Belt regular season championship, but then going into Montgomery and winning the tournament championship 3 and 4 years. Incredible accomplishment by Coach Oz and his guys. What does that mean to you personally and the university and really just the community in general that there's another Hattiesburg Regional coming this weekend?
Oh, it means a lot. I mean, the economic impact on the city of Hattiesburg is huge and very, very large. And coincidentally, with thanks to Mayor Barker and the city council and the people who voted for it, 1% of that tourism tax comes back to us. That's how we're doing the renovations on Reed Green. So it's a huge impact. But more importantly, in the psyche of the university, it's a point of pride. And, I always say that athletics and also the arts, by the way, are kind of like the front porch of the university. They invite you in. They give you a reason to come and sit a while and feel good about your alma mater, feel good about what you're involved in.
Let's talk about Montgomery for a little bit. Unbelievable weekend. It was one of those situations. I didn't get to go for the first part of the week, but I got there for the weekend. And I was telling you before we got started here, I wasn't really supposed to make it to that Friday game.
Yeah.
But because of the weather delays and everything, rolled in there right as it was starting. And who would have thought that, we'd be in for that kind of treat? Dre Barrett hitting a walk-off grand slam, bottom of the ninth. What were you thinking during that moment?
Well, it indeed was one of the most incredible moments in Southern Miss history that I've witnessed firsthand, right up there with beating Bear Bryant in Tuscaloosa, Chucky Robinson tagging out from the triple relay from the outfield to win Conference USA at home. But I was there, and watching that comeback was very improbable. We were like 6 runs down, going into the bottom of the ninth, or 7.
Yeah, it was down 6-2, and then loaded the bases.
That's it.
They walked one in.
Yes. That's right.
And on the pod, I did a pod earlier this week with Campbell Cave, and he was talking about a story he had heard that Colby Allen thought that Dre had tied the game, so he was going down to the bullpen to get warmed up, thinking he's going to close.
Yeah, well, I certainly knew that he had won the game, and it unfolded in such a dramatic fashion. You just can't script it. So first, the bases are loaded, and those 3 represent the tying runs. We're 3 down, right, with 1 out, and Russo, folk hero of Southern Miss baseball, is up, and I'm thinking to myself, no, surely he's not going to do it again. And unfortunately, they got him on a 3rd strike call. That was a good pitch, kind of froze him up. So here comes Dre Barrett, a young man with incredible power, great tight swing. I'm like, okay, 2 outs. Here's another shot. Then you go down 0-2. And, it's hard to hit an 0-2 pitch. And that I don't know what their coach would have said about the pitch. It was in the strike zone, but it was right at the knees. It was coming in there pretty good. And when he turned on it, it was one of those moments where it it wasn't like, I think that will go out. I mean, it's like everybody in the stadium, including the batter, knew it was gone by the time it was just past his bat. It was just that pure of a swing. And so to watch it go over that fence, it's a short fence with a high railing. But then beyond that, there's a railroad track, and on the railroad track is a box car, and it goes over the box car and into the trees, and it's a walk-off home run. It's the most magical thing I've ever seen. I'll never forget it, and I don't think anybody will.
Quite literally something that kids dream of growing up.
Yes.
That exact moment. And to have it happen in that.
Yeah.
And I said it before, but it would have been a legendary moment no matter what. But the fact that they went on and won that championship, he's forever going to be a legend for that.
That's for sure. And remember this, that was his second bomb of the game.
Yep.
Barrett had hit one very similarly.
He hit his face on the scoreboard on that first one.
So it was quite a night. And Troy didn't have any quit in them. Now they're a tough team. That first 5 hitters good as any, and they came back with a vengeance. And then for us to come back again, on Sunday morning was special.
And I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. Obviously you got to take care of business in the Hattiesburg Regional this weekend, but Troy's in that Gainesville Regional that is, set up across from us. So, end up winning this regional this weekend. Troy pulls off some kind of upset, you could potentially have them in Hattiesburg. So we'll see how it goes. I'm not going to predict.
Well,
anything,
there's two things about it. One, that would be fabulous. Two strong rivals, no love lost between those teams. Them coming to and they're scrappy. They'll be a tough out for Florida. Coming to Hattiesburg will be awesome for the Super Regional. But the other thing is that the time we went to Omaha,
that's right.
The Super Regional was at Florida. We beat them 2 straight to punch our ticket to the World Series. So maybe history will repeat itself.
It'd be pretty poetic for sure. Well, the Pete, it's one of the best venues in college baseball, the best in my slightly biased opinion. But, I think, you even saw it with Virginia's coach saying that it was on his bucket list to come here when Virginia got selected to be in this regional. Given the continuous ticket demand and the sellout streak that's going on, do you foresee any kind of add-ons to the stadium in the near future, or maybe add-ons that don't mess with the tradition of
Absolutely. In fact, our athletic director, who by the way I believe is the best athletic director in the country, Jeremy McLean, and his staff have developed some incredible plans that we will unveil shortly. What we will need to do is raise some money, probably 20, 25 million, something like that. I think we can find that kind of support. Having a lot of demand is not a bad thing. So you don't want to grow that stadium so big, but there's certainly room to add on while preserving, like you said, the uniqueness of the culture, whether it's the 16-ounce lounge or the roost. None of that's going to go away, but there are things we can do to enhance both the look of it, especially from the outside, but also expand some seating, perhaps some suites. And so, yes, there's a definite plan for that. It's all about timing, right? We've gotten the Reed Green project started now.
Yep.
We're about 2.5 years away from finishing that, but we had a revenue stream for that, and this will be one where we'll have to ask people to step up and be a part of it. And I think that our fans will respond.
We talked a little bit earlier about how we're in an unprecedented time with NIL, transfer portal, and all that. It seems like the baseball program has done extremely well amid all that, and roster retention has stayed high. They've still been able to utilize the transfer portal to go out and plug holes of guys who go to the draft and all that. What do you think has kind of separated that program from the others as far as roster retention goes?
It's the culture. It's the culture and the quality of the young men that are brought into the program and the quality of the coaches. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it goes back to Hill Denson building a field across 4th Street that people thought, nobody's going to come there. And then going to the athletic director and saying, I'm going to start charging admission. But then when you move to Corky Palmer, to Scott Berry, and now to Christian Ostrander. It's just a unique culture that's been handed from one great coach to another to another. And if you think about it, even this early in Oz's career, each of those built upon and exceeded the success of the one before them. And so, young men don't want to leave that program for money. And we've lost very, very few players in the portal, and that's pretty unique.
Yeah, it's one of a kind for sure. I saw a thing the other day showing the regional hosts and the overall athletic budget for every host, and it's just amazing to see Southern Miss among all those other teams with 150 plus million.
Yeah, every other 16 regional hosts, the athletic budgets of 15 of those are $100 million or more, and we're down at just over 30 million. So yeah,
you don't do that without a strong culture.
You've got to have a strong culture, and you got to be gritty. At Southern Miss, we're always challenged to do more with less, but even the less needs to grow. We're going to have people continue to step up and support the overall athletics program.
It should be a fun weekend at the Pete, and hopefully, if things go the way we want them to, end up having supers, whether it's here or somewhere else, and maybe even further beyond. So we'll see how that goes.
You never know.
Want to touch on a few more things here before we head out. Football, it was obviously a resurgence last year. Didn't end the way everybody wanted it to, but still 7-6 after you followed 2 years where you won 1 and 3 games in those years, and then now Blake Anderson is the head coach. A guy who many in the fan base thought probably should have happened several years ago, 2011. What are your thoughts and expectations for this upcoming football season? Not just the season, but this new era with Blake Anderson.
It's really a great question. And last year was a resurgence. We were playing very relevant football in November, and that's important. Yeah, we ran out of gas a little bit, but it certainly was what we're accustomed to at Southern Miss. And so Coach Huff moved on. He did a great job here, and we're fortunate that there's Blake Anderson. Now, people don't always realize. They remember the young offensive coordinator learning under Larry Fedora, who followed Larry to North Carolina. But of all the group of 6 conferences in the country that had openings, we hired the one with the most head coaching winning experience. Like 5 years at Arkansas State, 2 championships. Utah State, 1 championship. He's won everywhere he went. And so, we're plugging in a guy that doesn't have to learn how to be a head coach, doesn't have to learn the culture of Southern Miss. He's already got it. So that's the big plus. The big challenge is this, that even though he had served on that staff, when he shows up in January as a head coach, there's 26 guys in the room. A lot of the players were seniors. A lot of them left in the portal. A lot of them followed Huff. That's modern day college football, unfortunately. And in that 26, I think maybe 1 starter. So what Coach Anderson was tasked with doing very, very quickly, because he's at the portal, right? I mean, literally in a 3-week window, is assembling a brand new team. And so I think we need to temper our expectations. But I can tell you this, Blake Anderson's approach is solve the problem, figure it out, get it done. And so it's going to be a lot of fun. And he's going to need our support. And I think that we've got an opportunity with him, not just to win, but to win and to keep him here a while.
Yeah, I know it may take some time to build it to where he wants to get it to, but one thing I'm not concerned about with his team is the culture he's going to set.
Absolutely.
I think he'll have that established from day one. So.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about basketball to wrap this up. And basketball, it was another program that kind of was affected by players leaving and everything. But I've talked to Coach Ladner a little bit over the off season, and I've seen some of the guys that he's brought in, and I think they do a good job filling the holes where needed. when people end up going somewhere else and get offered money they just can't refuse at other schools. But where are your thoughts at on the basketball program? Really, both men and women's basketball,
Right.
Because I know you and I both know Coach Bilderback very well, and I think she was probably the best person for this job. It was a long time coming.
Mm-hmm.
And but what are your thoughts on the basketball programs right now and how these renovations to Reed Green will help things out going forward?
Well, the Reed Green piece is going to be very important to recruiting great players. I would say that, especially in, you think about the Power Four conferences and then everybody else, which is now, you can call it the Group of Five, non-autonomous, whatever you want to label that. Groups like the Sun Belt. There is no doubt in my mind that one of the hardest jobs in athletics is to be a Division I men's or women's basketball coach outside of those power. It's difficult inside, because unlike football and baseball where you're building a team, I mean, literally 2 or 3 players can be the difference in excellence or abject failure. And the reality of it is you're going out in that marketplace, and in this case, our 2 best players, came in as transfers and left for more money immediately, and it's going to continue to be that way. So Coach Ladner is challenged with basically more or less building a new team every year, and he's certainly been active in that. And he's not alone, so you're out there. It's not like everybody else not trying to do that, right? And so the thing that people I hope realize about Jay Ladner is that he's going to get the best players he can, but he's a hell of a coach. He knows how to build a team. So I'm very confident in that. Missy Bilderback, I thought, was a great hire. Known her since her days at PCS when you were there and my son was there. And she understands what needs to be done as well. And same thing, just a great challenge. But you talked about Reed Green. Improving that environment will help us in many, many ways. And again, we've got to have uncommon success. We're not historically a basketball school. We had a great run under MK Turk, won the NIT with Clarence Weatherspoon, went to NCAA a couple of times. With James Green, we won the conference one time. Eustacia, I think, took us once, Tyndall once. But there's not that long tradition like in baseball. So we've got to find the magic sauce to have uncommon success. And when that happens, and I've been there, you haven't been there as much. You've seen a little of it. Right. When it's there, people will come. I mean, I remember, we probably were outside of the fire marshal's code back in the days, in the late 80s and the early 90s. So,
well, like I said, at my core, I'm a basketball guy. I love baseball. I love football too. But at my core, I'm a basketball guy, and it warmed my heart a little bit to see basketball get back to where it was. And then when I was at school here, that was during the middle of the Neil Watson, Tyndall era. That's a good time. Yeah. And there were some of those games where you couldn't find a seat. Yeah. It was so packed out. Right. So it was a great atmosphere.
Yeah. Watson was a fun player to watch.
He was. Well, Dr. Paul, I appreciate you joining me to talk about everything Southern Miss athletics. I think it's a great time to be a Southern Miss fan and a Southern Miss athlete and student and all the above. So I appreciate you kind of talking over everything with me, and hopefully we can do it again sometime.
All right, Dalton. Happy to do it.
Yep.
Southern Miss to the top.
To the top. Guys, that's going to do it for another episode of Nasty Bunch and Beyond. Be sure to go like, rate, and subscribe on all your favorite podcast platforms, and we'll see you at the Pete this weekend. Have a good one.